I'm excited to have a chance to share some ideas with you today about the approach and contact, which most people would tell you inside the business format system may be the most important component inside our system, is the ability to make approaches and contact people successfully in our business. One of the great opportunities inside the system is to know that it's not necessarily talents that make the key people in our business successful. You know, talents are typically gifts. But skills are learned, and the business format system is a system full of skill sets. And today we're going to be breaking down for you what some of those skills are. These are things that I think you're capable of learning, and if you do learn them, I believe your likelihood of success increases dramatically. And so we're going to start today with a little bit of review. You know, we've talked briefly today about the prospect portion of our system, the top 25 system, and I think it's important to review that. You know, in our business, one of the things you need to know is there's an exchange principle that's in play, and that is that when you enter our system and you begin to run the business format system, you're going to be going out and getting trained in your market and having a great opportunity to learn about our concepts and products, our system, our strategies, etc. But one of the great things in place here is that although you'll exchange your market and a chance to have that done in your market, you in return, receive the opportunity to have that done in other folks' markets in your business. And so although you'll be trained in your market, you'll have the ability to go train people in their markets many, many times over again, potentially inside our system. And so that exchange principle in play allows you to have a perpetual opportunity for contacts and appointments as your business begins to expand and grow. And that's a key component in our system, is understanding the principle of exchange and the principle of how important it is to know how to get into someone's market, properly contact that market, and have some success. You know, if you look at someone's market and you make a top 25 list, one of the things I like to tell people as they enter our system is to say, listen, you started a business here, and I think it's unlike no other business that you might have started. Let's say you put $250,000 down to buy a restaurant. You're opening an Italian restaurant, and you've invested the money and the capital and your heart and soul in starting this business, and you're excited about it, and you know the grand opening of that restaurant is, let's say, 3 weeks away. Well, prior to that grand opening, you're going to have a pre-grand opening. You're going to have potential contacts and friends and associates, centers of influence, people that you respect, come down prior to you opening to the general public and come in and taste the food and look at the menu and have a sense of the ambiance and the service that you're going to provide there. And the reason you're doing that is, you know, there are multiple reasons. One is you really want their opinion. You want to know how they feel about it. Number two, you're going to want any suggestions they may have on how to improve things. Third, it's an opportunity for you to bounce ideas off of them and to discover whether there are any things inside that restaurant that need changing or excite them. You're also looking for potential customers down the road. Maybe they're going to leave there that night and say, hey, boy, I had dinner tonight at such a great restaurant. You ought to go check that out. And potentially they become a referral source for you. Well, in our business, it's no different. You know, you're in training as you're getting your licenses and putting other things in play. And I think you ought to approach our business much like you would any business you started had you invested that sort of money. And obviously in our system, you don't need to do that. But you ought to have your pre-grand opening. And I think the same principles are in play. You're going to want potential contacts, centers of influence, friends to take a look at your business and give you feedback and suggestions and opinions and maybe leave someday as customers down the road for you, or potential people that refer folks into your business. And so the same principles that it would be in any other business, I think, apply to your World Financial Group business as you begin your training program and exchanging that concept with people. And I think an important thing you need to know is our responsibility in training you and your responsibility in training somebody else inside the approach and contact system, in my opinion, is very simple. And that is, our job is to impress the potential prospect with our company, our credibility, what we stand for, and where we're going as an organization, and nothing else, simply to impress them. We're looking for people that are looking for us. I don't think this is a business where you talk somebody into it or you twist their arm. You know, there are enough people out there in my mind that are looking for opportunity, that are looking to make a difference in their lives, that are looking to get their financial household in order, that you just need to realize you're looking for people looking for us. And so there's no need for over-exaggeration or pressure tactics or any of those sorts of things. And I think you just need to know your job is to impress someone's market with their association with you and our firm. And when you're running your business based on that principle, good things happen. As a new prospect into the World Financial Group system, one of my insecurities potentially could be damaging my own reputation to my market. Are they going to put too much pressure on the people I see? Are they going to be exaggerative? Is it going to be pushy? And I think you need to know that that's not our outcome. That's not our goal, and it can't be yours as a trainer. And as a new person joining our system, I think it's important that you realize, listen, our job is to impress them, your market, the potential contact you've put in front of us or we've visited with. Just impress them. And I think from there, it's almost like a baseball game. Most of the time, to win a baseball game, you don't need to hit a home run every time you're up. And we're not going to do that when we're in the field. We're not going to do that when we get a guest to a BPM. We're not going to hit a home run every time. But that's not the requirement to win in business. You know, in business, one of the things that I think most people need to know is you just got to get on base. And getting on base in our business is we go do an appointment or someone joins our BPM and comes down and takes a look at our opportunity, is that they just leave impressed. And they leave and go out into the community and say, hey, I saw a great company the other evening. It wasn't for me. But boy, what a great company. These are good people doing good things. And that's really the barometer of whether we've been successful. Was the person impressed? You know, a double is probably, hey, they come down, they take a look, they say, boy, I was impressed. And, you know, I know 2 or 3 people that are trying to get out of debt or like to get a financial strategy done or potentially would like to start earning a second income or go into business for themselves, something like that. And so they refer you people. That's a double, and that's going to happen oftentimes. A triple is unbelievable. A triple is they say, boy, I'm very impressed. I know a few folks that may be interested in what you're doing, and I'd like to get a financial strategy or financial advice done myself. And so we have a potential to do that for them. And a grand slam out of the park is they decide, hey, maybe this is something I want to become a part of. This is a business I'd like to join, and I'd like to participate in maybe building my own WFG business. And that's a home run. That's a grand slam. Well, we're not going to do that every time. But I think if we can get on base every time, and that's got to be your focus, which is simply to impress them. And if they're the right person, they're going to refer us people. If they're the right person, they may become a client. If they're the right person, they may get on board. But I think oftentimes you put too much pressure on yourself during the approach and contact phase that, boy, I've got to recruit this person, or I've got to get this person to become a client of mine. And that's really not true. I don't think our business is one where you talk people into things. And so as we begin the approach and contact part of our system today, I think it's important to have a context of what it is really we're trying to do. When you're making contact with somebody, it's important to have a clear outcome as we begin this today, a clear outcome as to what it is you want to accomplish during this phone call. Most people, I think, sometimes are just sort of making the call. They're not exactly clear on why they're making that call or exactly what their outcome is. The outcome is very simple. The outcome is to get an appointment, either to get that person to schedule an appointment to come down and take a look at our BPM or to go see them. It's to get an appointment. It's not to recruit them. It's not to sell them. It's really not even to interest them all that much. It's simply to get an appointment. And when you go into a phone call, if you'll put yourself in a state of gratitude, a state of servitude, that you're there to serve that person. Oftentimes we get a little bit apprehensive when we make phone calls of, well, what are they going to think of me? Or are they going to feel that I'm pressuring them, or am I bothering this person? And I think that's because oftentimes our focus, our state, if you will, when we make that contact is what we can get from it. And I've always found the people that are strong at approach and contact are those that put themselves in a state of gratitude for being in our business, a state of servitude where they want to serve this family. They want to make a difference for them. And if you can put in your own mind the state you're making when you make that phone call, in your own mind and your own being, that I'm here to serve this family. I'm here to offer them an opportunity. I'm here to give them help. I think if you'll do that, you'll feel so much more confident, come from a place of strength when you make that contact, as opposed to one of being fearful of what they think or insecure or anything of that sort. That may be the number one thing that hurts people in their World Financial Group careers. They are so concerned with what other people think about them that they never get around to really taking massive action. And one of the things I found with successful people in my life in any endeavor, whether it be business, sports, in family life, they're not all, successful business people aren't all smart people. I know smart people that have won in business, and I know dumb people that have won in business. I know people that have college degrees that have won in business, and I know people that didn't finish high school that have won in business. I know all different sorts of people that have won. So if brains or talent were the requisite of success, there'd be a lot of people in this world that have won that wouldn't have. What is a requisite of success is typically successful people have the ability to take immediate, massive action. They just simply get after it. Fear paralyzes. And typically fear of what someone's thinking of you will hold you back from getting big here. I think it holds us back in relationships, in business, in church, in family, you name it. But in business, it really holds us back, especially in approach and contact phase, where we're so concerned with what they think about us. So if you put yourself in a state of, I'm here to serve this family, I'm here to offer them an opportunity, and I'm looking for people looking for us. I'm looking for people looking for me. I can't talk them into this. There's no magic words. If they're the right person, they're going to recognize this is somewhere they ought to be, and if they're not, that's okay. There are many people who probably will be interested. And so put yourself in that state of certainty. I also want to tell you to have a clear outcome, as I've said. Make sure your outcome is to simply get an appointment. That is why you're there, is to get an appointment, not to recruit them. I think sometimes, this contact is an invitation. It is simply an invitation. If you want to look at it like a movie, when you go to the movies, it's like the trailer. When you go to see the movie you want to see, you're going to sit through 3 or 4 trailers, which are 30, 90 seconds in length, which are just to entice you enough to give you an interest to go see the movie. Well, make sure when you're making approaching contact, you don't try to give them the whole movie. What you're giving them is the trailer. It's just enough to entice them that they want to come see the movie, or us bring the movie to them, that being our presentation phase that you'll hear about a little bit later. So be clear about that. Your focus is simply to get an appointment, and if you're clear about your outcome, you're clear about your state, you've got a very high likelihood of getting the result that you could get otherwise. I also want to say this to you. I want you to realize that in any conversation, as we go into the approaching contact now, in any conversation, the more certain person wins. I want to say that to you again. In any conversation, the more certain person will win that exchange. If I'm more certain than you are that we ought to meet, than you are that we shouldn't, I will eventually influence you to meet with me. And so I want you to be in a state of certainty, of confidence, of conviction when you make that approach in contact, because the more certain person will win that exchange. If the person you're contacting is more certain they're not interested, or this isn't for them, or they're too busy than you are that they ought to meet with you, they will win the exchange. But if you're more certain, I think you're likely to win that exchange. Next thing you need to know is this, is that the person who asks questions wins. The person who answers questions loses. And so you control the conversation by asking questions. That's how you control the conversation. You will lose the conversation by answering them. And so I want you to be very cognizant of asking questions. Most people in our business get too aggressive with telling people things. They get nervous, or worse yet, they learn a lot and want to tell them everything they know. They want to give them the whole movie. And when you tell me things, that makes me want to ask you questions. And that puts you in the losing position, because the questions are never ending. But if you're in the position of asking me things, and I'm in the position of telling you the answers, you're going to win the conversation and take me in that conversation where you want to go. So be clear about that. That leads me to our scenario of disaster. You know, in our business, inside the business format system, you'll see where we discuss the scenario of disaster. Scenario of disaster is very simple. It's that your enthusiasm, when you're making the contact, creates curiosity in me. I ask you questions, you attempt to answer those questions, you answer them wrong, and the result is failure. And the key component there is I'm asking you questions and you attempt to answer them wrong. Most folks are too new to be answering all of those questions. That's for the person who presents the movie at the BPM, or that's the person who brings the movie to the person in the field. So be very careful of controlling that point of contact. You know, there's 2 ways to control the point of contact as we move into that. The first way is that I physically make the calls. If you've come into my business and I'm the trainer and I'm training you, that I make contacts for you. We build your top 25 list. The key things in building that list, as you've heard, are very simple. You know, I want to know the sorts of people that if your car broke down in the middle of the night and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're on the side of the road, who's the guy that would come pick you up? Who's the lady that would come pick you up? To me, that's the first person we're going to contact. I want to contact the people who trust and love and respect you the most, who will give you the best feedback, who we have a chance of getting great results with. You know, if I was to ask you if you're going to get married again today, or you were to get married, who would be the men that would stand up for you if you were a male, or who would be the ladies that would stand up on your side and be in your wedding party? That's a great indication of the first people we ought to be contacting, the people that love you the most and that you care about the most, and the people that we would want to help the most if we could. And so I want to make sure I'm contacting the right people. I want to make sure they're in the right market, as you'll hear about later in our tape. I want to talk to the people that are likely to say yes, the people we're looking for, people that are married with children, own a home, those sorts of criteria. And I want to make sure that I get that list from you properly. Now, in contacting that list, there's 2 ways to control the point of contact. Number 1, I make the calls on your behalf, and we sit there and make the calls together. If you're going to do that, if you're going to run your system that way, I think that's the cleanest, purest way to physically control the point of contact. There's a story I was once told when I got into our business of, let's assume that we were on a submarine, and we had 200 men on this submarine, and we looked off into the distance and we saw a destroyer, and we know that now that they've come up on our radar, we've got 1 shot to fire a missile at that destroyer to sink that boat, and if we miss or don't hit them properly, they're going to fire one back, and our boat's going to go down, and we're going to lose 200 men. So it's a critical shot you're going to fire there. And you look around your submarine, and there's 200 men. Many have been there for 15, 20 years, sharpshooters. But there's an 18-year-old boy who's been on the boat now, been on the submarine for 2 weeks. And he's freckly-faced, and he's brand new, and he's an assistant to the cook. He's a brand new recruit onto the boat. Would you want that to be the guy firing that 1 shot, that 1 missile you've got to sink that destroyer, or would you prefer it to be a more experienced sharpshooter? I think we all know we prefer it to be a more experienced sharpshooter. But oftentimes in our business, we turn over the firing of the missiles, if you will, the contacts, to the brand new 18-year-old freckle-faced recruit who just got on the boat, who's not equipped to make the call, who's not certain, who doesn't know how to ask the questions. The more certain person's the trainer, not the trainee. And so I think the purest way to make approach and contact, if you're going to build a big system here, I think has to be that you and your leaders control the point of contact, and the best people at firing the missiles are firing the missiles. Because in that new recruit's business career, one of the most precious things to them are those first few contacts that are made, that they're handled properly, that success happens for them. And so I want you to consider you controlling the point of contact yourself. Now, if things are too busy or you're not willing to do that, maybe you've got a system that's just exploding inside your system, then at one point you're probably going to have some of the contacts made by your new associates. And in that regard, it's important to practice it before they fire the first real weapon. You've got to make sure you're role-playing with them and going back and forth. And I use the system of I say it, you say it. So I do it once as we're practicing, then you say it. I say it, you say it. I say it, you say it. And I critique you and compliment you and get it to where you're at least as somewhere near as competent as I would be if the contact were being made by me. And so make sure that you're role-playing contacts like this prior to just sending someone out into the world to fire these missiles aimlessly. The number one reason I think we probably lose people is that they're going out and making the approach and contact without being prepared, without being certain, without knowing the script, without knowing how to ask the questions. And then what takes place is the scenario of disaster happens, and they get rejected. Well, hey, if you're new to something and you get rejected 2-3 times, I think immediately you're going to say, hey, maybe this isn't for me, and you begin to question the decision. But if on those first 2 or 3 missiles that are fired, you get success, and people say yes, and they meet with you and things go well, well, now you're thinking this is for me, and you're willing to go out and even do more. So these first 2 or 3 contacts, just the 2 or 3 contacts, are so critical in taking the direction of someone's career, either positive or negative. And so the best way to do it is that you control it. But if you can't do that, you need to control it through role play and through preparation. You know, the other thing is you want to make sure contacts are being made. And I believe there's a direct correlation between someone's belief they can get a result and their willingness to take action. In the military, it's been proven that a soldier's willingness to fire their weapon is directly related to their belief that they're competent at doing so, that they've been trained well. That's why the military spends so much time in training on how to fire the weapon. Well, in our business, the weapon is the phone call. It's the missile that's being fired. And so you've got to be great at training that person so they get to the point of believing that they can get a result. Because if they believe they can get a result, they're more likely to make the contact. But if they don't believe they can get a result, then you're trying to motivate or inspire or browbeat them into making contacts. Whereas if you could just get me to believe I can get a yes or I can get a competent result, I'm probably going to make the contact. If I believe what I'm doing is right, if I'm in a state of certainty, of serving people, of gratitude, and if I believe I know how to get a result, I'm willing to take action. I'm willing to fire my weapon. And so prepare me. Don't just send me out into the wilderness and hope I go win and somehow I strike it rich. I want to make sure that they're contacting the right person, that we've qualified their market, that they understand our job's just to impress the person, that we're not going to hit a home run every time, that we're not going to do that they need to approach it like they're opening that restaurant. But I want to prepare them with the words. This really, in large part, is a business of names and a business of words. And if you get good at getting names, extracting great top 25 lists, qualified people you're contacting, and if you're great at learning the words, I believe your likelihood of success is dramatically increased simply from those 2 components. The script I like to teach people to use, and I want to make sure that you know this, please make sure that you're using the approved scripts, approved company scripts that are inside the business format system. You must use approved company scripts inside the business format system. Also, make sure you're referring to our national do not call list, that you're contacting the appropriate people. Now, having said that, there's a variety of scripts, but conceptually, I like what I call the help me script. If I'm role-playing with a new recruit and they're going to be contacting their own market, I want it to be simple, clear, and concise. And I call it the help me script. And very simply put, if they were calling their market, they'd call and say, hey, Bob, you know, this is Ed, and there'd be some small talk there for a while, and at one point, they'd engage them in the conversation. And they'd say, listen, you know, and this is not an exactness, I want you to use the scripts, but I want you to have the concept in your mind. And when they say, hey, listen, you know, the reason I was calling was I need your help. I've run into a company I'm very excited about, and I'd like to run some things by you. I'd really like to get your opinion about what I'm doing. And I don't know whether you'd be interested or not, but you may know somebody who's interested. And I'm in training as well. It would be great training for me. I was hoping you'd be willing to help me. You'll help me, won't you? And finish with the question, won't you? And of course, if I'm contacting someone who would pick me up in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning if my car broke down, or someone that'd be in my wedding party, they're more than likely willing to help me. And of course, the person will say, well, sure, I'll help you. Well, what is it? We'll say, listen, I'd like to get in all those details when we get together, but you are willing to help me. When would be better for you? Would Monday night be better for you or Wednesday night? 6 or 8 o'clock, alternative choice questions that lead to a yes. All the questions I ask, I want to lead to a result I'm willing to tolerate. So I don't want to ask open-ended questions. And so very simple script. Hey, listen, I'm in training. I'd like to get your opinion, and I need your help. That's it. Very simple. And I think if you just remember those 3 concepts, I'm in training, I need your help, and I'd like your opinion. Any order you use them in, as long as you're asking questions, you control the point of contact. Don't make a big deal about it. Don't put on some big production. Remember, your outcome is simply to get an appointment. That's all your outcome is just to get an appointment. It's not to recruit them. It's not to sell them anything. In most cases, it's just to get the appointment. It's just to get them to come to a BPM and take a look at what we're doing and see the movie and judge for themselves whether it's for them. Or to go take the BPM to them and sit down with them one-on-one and tell them our great story. You know, the more and more you look at our system, I think the more you'll discover, I think it's a very simple system. It's a system full of skills, not talents. Talented people have won here, but I can tell you from my own experience, people that aren't gifted with tremendous talents have been successful here. But the reason I think they become successful, in large part, is their skill sets in running the business format system with precision. You know, they say that there's the difference between a self-employed person and a business owner is the self-employed person has no system, and that a business owner has a system that runs their business. A self-employed person runs their own business. A business owner has a system that runs that business for them. And in our business, we're fortunate to have the business format system. We're fortunate to have the ability to make approach and contact. And I think in review, if you put yourself in the right state, a state of gratitude in serving that family, if you'll learn the words, if you'll role play with people, if you'll contact appropriate people, people that are qualified for our business, if you're willing to, in some respect, role play with me and train me to do it, you can also have some success. If you just have a context for what are we trying to do, we just want to impress them. We just want to tell them our story and impress them. And we're looking for people looking for us. I think there's a lot of people looking for us, by the way. You were looking for us at one point, and you found us. And so make sure as you start somebody's business, you realize the key thing inside the business format system is making precise, aggressive, early in the game, appropriate approach and contact, and make sure it's scripted, make sure people believe they can have value, make sure it's role played. And I'm looking forward to seeing you become even more successful inside our system.